Hey everybody, it's been a little bit. Welcome back to the Underground Lair. We have a very special EVH Wolfgang special, and it's had a paint job. This thing is sweet. Let's check it out. All right, everybody, check this thing out. Custom painted. It's immaculate. I mean, it's got the orange peel like you would expect because Eddie did his with a rattle can, but it's still kind of a semi-gloss. It's not real orange peely, but it's apparent. You could feel all the lines from the different layers of tape and paint. Great job to whoever did this. So did a little bit of preemptive strike, so I don't want to burn a set of the EVH strings. We're just setting this up to get it close so that whenever we do restring it, there's not much to do. So our string height, we are up to pitch, by the way. String height is at a hair over 4/64 and 4/64 on the high E. The relief, we had to check that too, and holding it to 17th and going to the 7th, we want perfect 10. Okay, so we've got everything pretty much dialed in where we want it. One thing that I'm noticing though is these screws, and one of the things he had an issue with is he was saying he's having trouble getting the harmonic at on the third. These pickups are designed to be in the body. There is no spring, there is no sponge underneath. It's the way he designed it because he thought he'd get more sustain, etc. out of it. So that's what we're doing here. They've raised the pickups screws up, but they're not. There's nothing holding the actual pickup up. So yeah, now we've got that where it should be. He was also saying that he had an issue with not getting the volume out of this, which could have to do with those pickups not being mounted properly. Give me one of them. I'm not good at getting the harmonics out of the lower fret. I don't have the touch, I'm too shaky. But he said he's having trouble getting it there as well. I thought that may have had something to do with the pickups not being mounted all the way down. So I had to loosen this up. We tightened the claw a little bit to get the arm was, or the bridge, the whale tail wasn't all the way down. But now you can feel it bottoming out. So that is as much as we're going to get done today. Hey boys and girls, it's the next day. We got our strings off, and just some of the typical maintenance I do is you take your 10 mil and boy, that was loose. That was loose. They're all loose. tighten down the bushings on the headstock, these little nuts. They're like finger loose. You don't want to crank them, you just want them to be snug. The other thing I do, that's 10 mil by the way, then we come back down on this side here. I put an eraser to keep the whale tail up. I pulled this out of its position. I dropped in some of this ultra or super lube. It's a synthetic oil that doesn't move. It stays in place. I'm going to go ahead and polish the fingerboard and clean this and then oil it. Use of a brush first, loosen any surface material. And hit it with some Dunlop 65. Just take any of the DNA off of here that's been hanging around. I use micro mesh. I start at 18 thou, I go to 24, 20, let's see, 18, 24, 36, 4,000, 6,000. And we always use a fret protector to make sure we don't touch the wood. And I picked the right one right out of the box. Okay, so we get our 18. And I just roll up a piece and I polish the fret. That typically knocks some of the shine off, but that's also taking some of the corrosion off. Then you buff it back up to those higher grades. And that makes bends so much nicer, more, it's just so buttery smooth. You're not going to have to watch all this. I'll do this and get back to you, show you the end result. So we'll be back. Okay, boys and girls, I just realized I did not hit the record button as I was starting to restring this guitar. And also the last clip, my microphone was laying on the bench. I guess I'm just not with it today. So anyhow, we're restringing this EVH. I've got the bridge being held up by a eraser here in the back, and we're just stringing up the guitar. Problem with black hardware is it's hard to find a hole. Kind of see it, there we go. So we don't need very many wraps, just maybe 2 wraps. That should do us. And always wrap to the bottom of the string. Wrap under each previous wrap. And I always have just found that after losing all the little chiclets that go in here, I found that it's a lot easier to put a piece of tape over there, so if you do end up tipping the guitar over to see what's going on the other side real quick, that you don't go and lose all your chiclets, because, well, nobody wants to lose their chiclets. It's just a pain in the butt because they are a different size. Alright, boys and girls, we have our guitar up to pitch after stringing it up. I did a little more string stretching. Still have the bridge done on the body. I still haven't locked this down yet, and I'll tell you why. I think we have to do something with the neck. Let's take a look at the 7th. And I think we gotta tighten that. Yeah, we gotta tighten that up a little bit. So it's righty-tighty, right? And you always want to take your tension off the strings whenever you're tightening said strings. So instead of loosening everything there, we'll just do this here. There we go. That takes all that problem away. Just have to do a little bit of retuning. Stay there. I'm liking where our relief is at. String height at the 17th is just a hair over 4 like we were, and 4 on top of the line where we were. Let's go ahead and lock these down. I took them off in order of where they should be. And I'll put them back in the same order I took them off. Now we can do any fine tuning down at the other end. So let's check for string buzz. Let's see how bad that put us out of tune. Oh, we gotta plug it into the other thing. Aha! That was for all you headphone users. Sorry. Also notice we had to tighten up the output jack. Tomorrow we'll come back and fine tune the D-Tuna. Okay, there we go. Everything appears to be good. Let it sit overnight to acclimate to all the changes we did. Come back and check it tomorrow. I think it should be good. Notice back here, I'll zoom in the final edit, but this screw, and this screw both had to go to the second hole to achieve the intonation, where a lot of Floyd Rose systems have single hole and a longer saddle slot, I guess you'd say. This one doesn't, so it has the 2 holes, so you can pull the saddle back and go into the second hole if you want to. We're just finishing up this Wolfgang. Isn't that an awesome paint job? Well, let it set overnight, and I want to just check where everything ended up. First I want to check the relief. 17th fret, checking at the 7th. And that just fitting in there. That's exactly what I want to see. Intonation, the E is in, the B is in, the G is in, the D is in, the A is in, the E is a little bit flat, I think. There's always a little bit of balancing here. See, now it's showing in. I'm going to leave it. Now we have to check the D-Tuna. I couldn't figure out how to get the why this was so hard to pull out, the D-Tuna, and why it was so hard to push in. Well, I forgot that you had to have this fine tuner almost all the way out, about a turn and a half in, to allow that slack for that to work. And then you work at the tuning machine with this unlocked to bring that into tune. You want that to be D. Make sure it's all stretched and everything, and intonated. And then we can go ahead and push in the D-Tuna. That'll make us a little sharp, I believe. Let's just make sure, because of the string stretching. Actually, no, that puts us right where we want to be. If it's flat, you take this, you take a 1.5 millimeter, and there's a little screw right here. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. Yeah, it's right there. And you adjust this little 1.5 millimeter. If it's sharp, you turn it counterclockwise until it's in tune. If it's flat, you turn it clockwise until it's in tune in an E. So we're in tune there, and the intonation is in. Go back and forth, pull it out, and it's a D again. Yeah, there we go. It's a D again. Push it back in, and we have an A, an E, I think. There, yeah, just a little bit on the sharp side. So all we do is take this, and we do that again. You just turn it a little bit counterclockwise left. And that should put us where we want to be. Okay, we're in tune in the E, and we're in tune in the D. Now we can go ahead and lock this down with our 3 mil. We're in tune. Now that should have pulled us a little bit tight. But see, it did. A little sharp. So now we can back off just a little bit. Yep, I didn't like that. Because when I had to back it off, we came to the end of the adjustment here. So I'm going to redo it again, because you'll probably have to redo it again. Let's loosen this again. Let's go ahead and let's put it about there. That way I can back it off some. I'll do the whole process again now. Intonation's still there. Now let's take a look at our D-Tuna. Oh, we're still good. There's a D. Yep. That's intonated. Now let's go ahead and push it back in. Now it's sharp. Make sure we stretch that string, and it's in tune. Okay, I am happy about that. So let's go ahead and lock that down. Okay. Now we can let that loose. There we go. Intonation's good. Now let's just check that D-Tuna one more time. Ah, frustrating. We go back over here. Loosen this. You kind of got to get the balance. We're just a hair flat. Now we're sharp, or we pulled sharp. Tighten just a little bit there. We're good. Now we're going to recheck that. Aha. So now we have to back off that screw. Intonation's good. Unlock the D-Tuna. Tighten it up again. It's a balancing act. And there's our E. And our intonation. Finally, it's a back and forth thing. This is locked. Everything's locked down here. We got our intonation, and we're good to go finally. By the way, brand new zoom lens. I'm able to get a bit closer and let you enjoy the paint job on this thing that this guy did. I think that's amazing. Thank you for joining us down here in the underground layer, where we brought this EVH Van Halen Super Painted Edition up to par. If you live in the greater Pittsburgh area and you'd like your guitar brought up to par, simply send us an instant message on the Facebooks and we'll get you in here. There's a line forming. New website soon come. Take care of the old folks because they're special. Love your neighbor like you love yourself. And most important, you have yourself a great day.